Yo, 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 yo. It's game time. So, every painting is a bridge. But once the painting is finished, what can it actually do? Because a painting can preserve a story, change how someone is seen, create an experience, strengthen relationships, and continue producing value long after the paint dries. But none of that happens automatically. So, today, while I continue painting these clowns, we're going to ask six questions to answer one complex one. How do you extract and leverage the value of an asset like a painting? Oh boy. You know, to think I signed myself up for this foolishness. Which clown am I? This one or that one? Let's go ahead and start there. Who are these clowns? I think that's the first question I want to answer, or tackle. Yeah, let's go there. Who are these clowns? But before I do that, let's get a better view. There we go. I wanted to name them right off the rip, but then I hesitated, because, well, something I firmly believe is that we are supposed to correct without condemning, and like, I don't want anyone to feel like, you know, I'm calling them a clown. So instead of talking about the clowns on the bus, let's maybe name who is Gerald? Who is Gerald? I'm a Gerald. I've had like 6 different lives that I've lived. And I might be stealing this from like one of my later questions, but no, yeah, we'll save it because I stealed it from a future question. I know it. Who is Gerald? We're struggling. Are we struggling? We're not struggling. It's like we said in the beginning, it's a complex question, and the answers to it are complicated. Like, in order to solve this complex issue, we have to ask some complicated questions. So, who is Gerald? This is Gerald. I think Gerald is a clown that's had an epiphany. I think Gerald is a clown that has questions that he needs answered. And that's why he's not on this bus anymore. All right, so how do we put a bow on that? Well, let's start over. Gerald is... I paused. I said let's start over and then I paused. Gerald is a clown that has questions that he needs answered. And they're new questions. In this moment, I'm asking myself, which one am I doing? Am I talking or am I painting? And the answer to that question is, well, it's complex. So one last time, who is Gerald? He is a clown that has questions that he must find the answers to. I think Gerald is also a clown that has come to understand that while he may not entirely be done with the clown business, he just knows that he can no longer conduct his clown business with these clowns. When I look at this picture, one of the things that comes to my mind is, why do these clowns think that this is okay? That this is the way that it's supposed to be? You know, maybe that's something you're dealing with as well. Like, you know, you see yourself as Gerald as well. Like, yeah, man, this situation is jacked up. I can't keep going there. And then, you know, they're like calling you back. You're like, no, bro, quit calling me. As a matter of fact, not only quit calling me, but like, change. Change who you are, change what you're doing. Can't you see? Can't you see the things that you've added to the situation, to the equation that is like not benefiting? Don't, like, I think in general, a lot of us, when we think about our image, I gotta be careful here. I think for a lot of us, when we think about our image, we think about things that we can add to our image to make it stronger, to make it bolder. But it is absolutely possible that less can achieve more. This is gonna be funny. I had a paintbrush that had a funny image to it. You know, the hairs were all like this. And it's funny to me because the paintbrush looked one way, and I imagined that, you know, if I applied my pressure to it, I could get the paintbrush to behave in a way that didn't match its appearance. And it was true, I could. The problem was, I had to work twice as hard. Which was not conducive to getting this painting finished in a reasonable amount of time. You know, I would, instead of, you know, solving this forearm, I would still be painting and repainting and like continuing this cycle of frustration. So like, I think when we recognize that there's potentially a problem with our image or with our appearance, and like, yeah, we need to take action to improve. Because yes, our image communicates to others what's going on, but like, it also communicates our capability of function. That's a lot. So, and I also think that's like the perfect segue, because now the new question is, this is one I was trying my best not to dig into a little bit earlier, is what happens when the vehicle that carried you forward can't take you any further? And I'm being very careful about using the word further here instead of using farther, because especially as an artist, you know, well, let me personalize this. I live a life, you know, well, for me, in order to live my life, purpose has to drive my activity, right? So like, you know, let's say I was an artist that found financial success by painting cats, and I'm just painting cats. Like, these cats have like zero agency to them. You know, it's a two-dimensional cat that is painted pink, and every painting is the same, and like, anytime I try to deviate, it fails. It does not sell. Get hate letters like, why did you change the cat from pink to blue? You know, like hate mail, right? But anytime I do it the one way, then like everybody that likes cat paintings loves these paintings, right? Let's just say that was my situation. And it's not that I couldn't, you know, keep painting the painting and then, you know, take the proceeds from that success to like do other things and with other time. But like I said, what happens when the vehicle can't take you further? Like, we also have the responsibility of living the life that we live. And I do understand like responsibilities, and I do. And I'm gonna to that, I would have to say about like in balancing your responsibilities to your capabilities. I have to be me, right? And this is the first relationship that gets established from your constructions. And if your constructions are disturbing your spirit, how could you take care of anyone else if your personal foundation is bankrupt, on sand? You create a ticking time bomb. Yes, you have success in one of like the most important arenas of success, but you don't have peace. It's like, hey, I can make $1 million a day doing some highly unethical things. So yeah. So then, going down that line of thought even further, Gerald couldn't take it no more. He had to get off this bus. But how in the world are they still on the bus? Gerald was they're suffering all the same things that Gerald was. They're going to go do the same work that they went to go do yesterday. What in the construction are they holding on to? What part of the construction are they holding on to? This kind of makes me think of like fans of troubled sports franchises in this moment. Like, what happened at the game that they went to? What happened at the game that they saw that despite not ever seeing it for the last 20 years, they still, none of the people that provided that moment of magic for them whenever they decided that this was going to be their team, none of those people even are associated with the organization anymore. Yet they hold on to the team. And I get it. I can get it. My best friend Bill became my best friend because we both cheer for this team. Because we both work at this company. I thought I wanted to leave, but then when I talked to Bill, he said, no, we at least know what we're doing here. We at least know how to. Oh boy. I want to check this in the monitor. Yeah, so what is it that makes holding on to the organization worth it? The companionship? I want to take that question, I want to apply it to art, the subject of art, you know. And this may be a jump, but whatever. Meet me in the middle. What makes a painting worth thousands, if not millions, of dollars? I think one of the things that becomes important when we look at the price of art is all the things that we just discussed, and we when we combine those things into this new question, it kind of determines the size of the art. So, in short, one of the things that makes the price of a job, the cost of the job, or the price of a work, the cost of a work, the price of the work, the cost of the work, is I'm fumbling on that one. Who's being served? What is the work that's being performed? What is the complexity of the work being performed? Right? You know, let me just say this: if let's say we had an agreement, and you said, all right, I'm gonna pay you $5,000 for a work of art. And then I say, okay, great. Cash at me. And then you cash at me. And then a couple hours later, I show up with the canvas. And I say, oh, here you go. Here's your painting. And then I peace out. And that was it. That's all I do is I show up, I hand you a painting, and I peace out. Oh boy. You're gonna be feeling some heartburn. I don't care how much money you have in your bank. You could have $10 billion. But if I show up, this painting, whatever, you know, you flip it over, you look at the painting, it's just whatever. Ain't nothing we talked about. Oh boy, next person you're gonna be on the phone with is probably gonna be your lawyer. Or your wife or husband trying to explain something you can't explain. All right, but that would be like a terrible experience, right? Let's spin this one more time and then but the opposite result, right? So let's say this clown here is Elon Musk, right? And this story is about when the day that Elon decided that he was no longer going to just be an employee at Burger King because he could see a future. He could see a future that was interplanetary. He could see robots doing the work that he was doing. He could see something that none of these clowns over here could see. But these clowns, they done spent the most time with them. So they're like, bruh, what is you thinking? You can't just go out there and not be a clown no more. You gonna be a businessman now? You got you a suitcase, a bow tie. You think you sophisticated? Bro, you still stutter.
Mommy.
You know, you still look like us. But now, you know, Elon calls me and he's like, hey, I saw your picture and, you know, I like it. I would like to know how much it costs. Whatever. And I'll say, hey, man,
It's $2 million.
yeah, I said, oh, so this is speaking to you. So then that means you understand these clowns. You know who these clowns are. You could probably name every single one of them, huh? But once again, if I just show up to his door with a painting of clowns and I'm like, hey man, give me $2 million. He's gonna be like, hold on. You just gonna show up to my door with a canvas and ask me for $2 million? The bums on the street ain't that bold. And they're practiced. So what I would say is that there has to be work, right? There has to be an experience provided. So like, if I'm saying that I'm asking $10,000 for a painting, then that means that there's going to be an experience, right? There has to be an experience to match. There has to be like daily updates of the painting, right? There has to be like an investigation of what it is that you're asking me to paint. There has to be like a reveal, like there has to be a celebration. There has to be new people for you to meet at the time. Like that's part of the thing, right? It's not just showing up with an image on board. I mean, maybe eventually you get to the place where there's so much demand for your work that, sure, you know, the market has deemed ye worthy, and you can just, you know, send out your pictures to here and there. But it only happens after you have provided that experience to all that have demanded your work. Now it's time for the prepared closing.
What can I do with...
The kids were saying you were gone.
I thought she was.
Okay, so I've dressed these clowns the best I could today, and none of them came out pretty. But maybe that's the point, because the symbols tell us who the clowns are, their images show us who they're trying to be. The broken car reveals broken car reveals what they built. The relationships explain why they're still riding together. And the experience determines whether this is merely a picture or a painting worth millions. Because if Elon Musk paid me $2 million for these clowns, I couldn't just show up, drop off the painting, and leave. The research would have to understand him. The painting would have to represent him. The film would need to document it. The reveal would have to gather the right people. And the experience would have to carry the same weight as the price. Otherwise, the distance between what he paid and what I provided would create discord. That's how you extract and leverage the value of a painting. You don't stop at the object. You build an experience around it that helps people see themselves, each other, and their story in a new way. The paint may dry at the bottom of the mountain, but if the work is constructed properly, its value can keep climbing long after the artist goes home.